And I just want to welcome Maggie and Ingrid. Thank you both for joining today. This is going to be a really awesome presentation. So I know Allie's taken a lot of really great time to get this going and started and planned out, full of awesome information. And really in general, if you have any questions later on down the road, Allie's got her contact information and whatnot that we'll share. So that'll be great for all your realtor needs. I'm Rebecca Coletti, in case anybody doesn't know me, and I work in alumni relations. And so I help to plan all the alumni events and homecoming and whatnot. I also am a WIT grad, so I graduated from Wittenberg in 2014 with a communications degree. And it's funny because Allie and I overlapped a little bit. And so I'm really excited for this today. And from here, I'm just going to go ahead and let Allie take the reins. I will let you share your screen.
Okay, let's see.
And we can get started. And if anyone has questions, you can put them in the chat bar and we'll review at the end.
Let's see. All right, can you see my screen? All right, let me close that. All right. Good morning, everybody. I am Allie Beebe, and I am, well, actually, I guess I could have not taken it. I could have talked to you directly, but anyways, we'll start the presentation. I am here today to talk a little bit about tips for first-time homebuyers, and I am a licensed realtor in Columbus, Ohio. So I help my clients anywhere really in Central Ohio. I'm licensed in the state of Ohio, but it's much easier to service my clients in Central Ohio. So if you're tuning in from those areas, I'd love to connect with you. And even if you aren't, I'd love to be a resource for any questions that you may have about first-time homebuyers. So to start, I wanted to give you my contact information. I am pretty active on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm trying to be more active on LinkedIn. So I'd love for you to connect with me. I also have my email and my cell phone. I am very laid back, so anyone is welcome to text me with any questions that they have, or if they're interested in learning more. I'm pretty available and open for you guys to reach out in whatever way is best for you. So a little bit about me. I did graduate from Wittenberg in 2015 with my bachelor's in communication. My husband and I, we live in Hilliard, which if you're not from Columbus, that's just a suburb about 15 minutes from downtown. Me and my husband live here. He graduated from Wittenberg in 2016. And many of you may be familiar with 4Paws for Ability. I know that organization was pretty active at Wittenberg when I was there at least. And we fostered 2 pups while we were in college, but then Lily, who's pictured in the bottom photo below, she was one of our traditional foster pups through the program, and we got her as an 8-week-old puppy, and we had her for about 2 years in the program while we were training, trying to help assist her with her service dog training. But fortunately for us, she didn't quite make the cut. So we adopted her, and she is just our pet now, and we love her. She's a big part of our family. And we are also expecting our first child this spring. So we're really excited about that. So enough about me and from a personal standpoint. I always just like to share a little bit so people can get to know me, who I am, not just kind of my career journey and my career as a realtor. So before I got into real estate, I actually started right out of college at Gordon Food Service, and I worked there for about 2.5 years in their marketing department. And what's really cool about that is I started and got my connections there through the Kaple program that I know is still really active at Wittenberg, and it's been around for many years, but that was just a fantastic program that helped me make connections and ultimately land an internship and then my first job out of college. After there, I decided to take an opportunity to work for a custom cabinetry business where I manage sales, marketing, and kitchen design for our clients. And I'd say there is really where I started to develop my passion for entrepreneurship and running my own business and design. And it was a pretty, smooth move. Started in marketing, started to learn my way around sales and interior design. And then I found my way into real estate at the end of 2019. So I am a co-founder for the real estate team Kaple Co. with Coldwell Banker King Thompson. My founder and team lead is Alexis Kaple, and a really cool story about us is 3 years ago, she was actually my husband and I's realtor when we were searching to buy our very first home. And she came recommended from a friend, and it was just fantastic working with her. And really, she helped talk me through a lot of the same questions and things that we're going to talk about today for first-time home buyers. I was in those shoes not that long ago myself. So that's how her and I got connected. We hit it off, right off the bat. And she said, if you ever have an interest in getting into real estate, I think you'd be great at it. And I'd love to, talk more. So, I went on my way. I was still in marketing, then took on my new role doing kitchen design, sales, and marketing for the cabinetry company. And at the end of 2018, I just kind of felt a little bit of a tug towards going ahead and pursuing my dreams of getting into real estate. And I reached out to her, and within a few months, the Kaple Co. team was born. And at the very beginning of 2019, I got my license, and I'm about to wrap up my second full year. Our mission as a real estate team is to really make the home buying and selling process quick and smooth, but enjoyable. So, there are stressful parts in the process, but our job and our role is we want to make sure you can focus more on the exciting things that are coming next and less about the stressful nitty-gritty things that we help take care of throughout the process. So a little bit about my experience. This map on the computer screen, those are all my past clients who I've had the privilege of helping so far over the last 2 years. I always like to give a little bit of background about my experience because it takes experience and it takes working with different types of clients, especially first-time home buyers, to really help you understand that I do get this market and I do get this clientele. And not only was I there myself not all that long ago, but I help so many first-time home buyers too. So over the last 2 years, I've almost done 7.2 in sales volume. I've helped 31 clients, and 14 of them were first-time home buyers. 3 of them are actually Wittenberg alum who I've had the privilege to help. And the large majority of my clients are buyers. So, I help clients sell their homes as well, but it is a different strategy that goes into helping buyers find and secure their home, especially in this pretty tight market that we are currently in and have been in for a couple of years. So I thought we'd start off the presentation with some fun trivia in case you don't know a ton about the real estate market or real estate in general. I thought we could learn a few things through some trivia. So true or false, you need to put 20% down to buy a home. Do you think that's true? I'm sure you've heard your parents probably talk about it in the past. But actually, that is false. You do not need 20% down in order to purchase a home in many places. So there are many different loan programs, and I always recommend a couple great lender options to each one of my clients. And some VA loans, and there are some types of loans where you can do 0% down, but I'd say the majority of my clients, especially first-time home buyers, are typically putting anywhere from 3 to 5% down on their first homes. True or false, it does not cost a penny for buyers to work with a realtor to purchase their home. I know this is something that not all of my clients, when I'm meeting with them for the first time, they don't know the answer to this question. And it is true. So sellers pay for all realtor commissions, making it free for you to have an expert help you navigate one of the most expensive purchases you'll ever make. So we live, breathe, read, and work in the real estate market, the contracts, the values, we understand it and we live it day and day. And we understand that our clients, when they purchase a home, that might be something they do, 1, 3, 5 times over the course of their entire lifetime. So I always like to reassure my buyers that it doesn't cost them anything to make sure that they have an expert helping them through that process. And the same thing goes for sellers as well. All right, my last question I have for you guys is the inventory of homes for sale in Central Ohio was down in September 2020 versus September 2019. Which of the following amounts do you think is the correct amount that it was down? And this is just, they haven't released October numbers yet. So September data was the most recent data that we had. So I was not surprised because I see it every day, but I could not believe that, we are down 47% in inventory, and we feel it. That's what's helping drive such a competitive buyer's market and a seller's market, making it possibly a great time for them to sell. But we don't have a ton of inventory, but the low interest rates are continuing to fuel buyers shopping and being in the market to find a home. So that's all the trivia I had for you guys today. If you played along, thank you so much. And I'd love to go ahead and get started with the Tips for First-Time Homebuyers seminar. A couple interesting facts that I wanted to highlight as we got started was younger adults are spending a stunning amount of money on rent, $93,000 by age 30, according to a new study. And things are not looking up for the next generation, oftentimes called Gen Z, either. Rent Cafe estimates that they'll spend just more than $100,000 on rent by age 30. And that was from a recent USA Today article. I find that interesting because it's important from a financial standpoint to kind of look at where your cost of living is going. And I think everybody rents at any point in time. I know I myself rented for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years after college. But then, I realized what financial goals I wanted to achieve and how I could try to figure out purchasing a home so that way I could start building equity and putting my money each month into something that I own and not somebody else's property. One other interesting fact is that mortgage interest rates have hovered near historic lows for much of 2020, thanks to Federal Reserve policies designed to bolster the economy. So if you're a prospective home buyer or even a homeowner who's interested in refinancing, these rate drops can translate to significant savings and lower monthly payments. And that is from a Fox News article, which I touched on a little bit earlier in regards to the inventory data that we have from September. And interest rates are at an all-time low. And I see that being a main reason why a lot of my clients are deciding to either upgrade to their next home, or why my first-time home buyers are deciding to take advantage of getting locked in at those low rates now while they are so low. So a couple questions you might ask yourself is it better to rent or is it better to buy? And there's no, clear answer to that. There's no right or wrong answer to that, I guess I'll say. But there are a few questions that I suggest you answer to help point you in the right direction. So the first one is, how much can you afford monthly? You're likely already spending a certain dollar amount on rent each month. Is that comfortable for you? Do you have a little bit of wiggle room in the budget? Or is that too much? You'd like to bring your costs down. And depending on how you answer those questions, based on where you live and housing affordability, that can be a great factor in help guiding you in the right direction of, okay, could I afford a mortgage with taxes and insurance for around the same price or just a little bit more than what I'm currently paying on rent? Another question to ask yourself is, how long do you plan to live in your current location? If you are only planning to stay in your city for another 1 to 2 years, it's not likely your best choice to put down roots and buy a home. I like to tell my clients, if you can see yourself there for at least 3 years, you should, in this market, have a solid return on your investment. But if you think that you might want to up and move in a year or two, I do think renting can sometimes be that better option for you, just to make sure that you don't lose some of your equity when you have the selling costs associated with selling your home down the road. Do you want stability or flexibility? So some people love to be able to have that freedom to move every year, check out the newest and greatest apartment, enjoy different locations in the city that you live. And other times you may want some stability. You may be sick of moving every year when your lease is up or having to deal with rent prices going up. So if you're looking for more stability, then I always suggest that exploring the option to buy is a great way to go. Another question is, do you have savings for a down payment, closing costs, and a small emergency fund? So I always like to let my clients know that it's important that purchasing your home is not going to take you down to zero. You don't want to be closing on your new home and worrying about the bills for the following month. So I like to say, make sure you work with a great lender to figure out what would your total down payment and closing costs look like at different budget points for a home price, as well as do you have a little bit saved as well for an emergency fund once your first bills and your first mortgages start to kick in. Because what I don't ever want for anybody is for purchasing a home to be a financial burden. I always like to help my clients, especially my first-time home buyers. I like to help them find a home that's going to work in their current financial situation. And then the last question to think about when you're trying to decide if it's better to rent or buy is, what are your financial, career, and family goals? So do you see in the future wanting to take a step back and start your own business, and was that going to cause your finances to go down for a year or two? Or do you see yourself wanting to be able to move careers in major different cities? So that goes back to, how long do you plan to live in your current location? If you want to have that flexibility to grow your career outside of the current city that you live in, then it might be better to continue to rent. As well as, what are your family goals? So if you see yourself wanting to start a family in the near future, do you want to think about things like school districts and an extra bedroom and a little bit more space or a yard? And same thing goes for pets too, because I know dogs and even cats can be family members for many families. And so, do you want a backyard for your dog? Are you waiting to get a puppy until you have that space? So all of these questions are just a few things to think about as you determine whether it's better to rent or to buy. So now that you've decided to buy, I wanted to quickly go through the 10-step home buying process. The first step, obviously, was to decide to buy. The next step is to pick a real estate agent. And what I suggest to anyone, whether you're living in Central Ohio and I'd love to chat with you, or you have another great family friend that's an agent here, or you live in another city, wherever you're at, I suggest that you reach out, get to know a couple realtors, and make sure that you work with someone that's knowledgeable about their market, but also tech savvy, creative, friendly, and an excellent communicator, because this person is going to go from a stranger to a friend practically overnight. And you also want to make sure you can trust them and that they're doing everything they can to make sure you reach your goals. And for the tech savvy side of things, a lot of our real estate business is done on our phones, online, All contracts are done digitally, at least in Central Ohio, except for closing day. So those are things to think about, that you want to make sure you're working with someone that's going to be able to best fit your needs and what you're hoping to accomplish. Step 3, and this is super, super important, is get pre-approved. So your realtor can provide you with a list of excellent lenders to reach out to, or if you have a lender recommendation or someone that you know your family members have used in the past, reach out to them and start the pre-approval process, because this is what you'll need to do in order to ensure what loan amount you'll be able to get approved for, which is ultimately going to determine the budget of the price point of home you're shopping for. And there's a couple different, terms. You can get pre-qualified or you can get pre-approved, but pre-approval, the lender is going to look at more financials to truly ensure that they're going to be able to fund your loan barring no unforeseen circumstances, versus pre-qualification. It looks at your financials, it looks at your stated income, but not as in depth as the actual pre-approval process does. And that's the most that I'll talk on that, because I work side by side loan officers to help my clients with the financial side of the purchase, and I help with finding the home, writing the contracts, negotiating the contracts. So you really have two main players when you are buying a home, and that's your loan officer and your realtor. So now you're ready to start your home search once you have the pre-approval. And when you are in step 4, trying to find the right home, there's a few questions you'll want to ask yourself to narrow down what really is the right fit for you. A couple of those things might be, how long do you plan to live in your first home? I have a lot of first-time home buyers, especially, that they don't have kids yet and don't foresee having kids in the next 1 to 2 years. And at that point, you typically will go to preschool and then kindergarten. So you really don't need to possibly be in your ideal school district until, maybe 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years down the line. And so if my first-time home buyers are searching and school district isn't quite a priority for them yet, then that opens up their search a little bit more in regards to the home options that they have. Other times I have clients that say, nope, we want to buy one house and we really would hope to stay there for 10 years or more. Then they may decide to identify what school districts are important to them, and will narrow their search down that way. Another thing to ask yourself is, are you looking for a fixer-upper, or do you want something that's move-in ready? I know myself, when we bought 3 years ago, I did not want a fixer-upper. I wanted something that someone had already done that too, because we are not the handiest of people. So renovating kitchen, doing new floors are a little bit above our expertise level. We can handle paint and decorating. We actually did finish the basement with the help of some handy friends, but I just wanted to recommend that to people to see if you are open to something that needs a little bit of cosmetic or structural updates, or if you want to look for something that is completely move-in ready. Another question that it's always been around, but it's something more and more people are thinking about in 2020, is, do you need to have a dedicated home office space? Some homes have designated dens or offices. Other times you may be able to use one of the bedrooms as an office, or you may find that you'll finish the basement space and put an office or two down there. So those are just a few questions to ask yourself as you're trying to narrow down what will be the right first home for you. Once you've found a home that you've said, yep, this is the one, I could see myself here, then we make an offer on that property. And it depends the situation that we're in. Sometimes there will be other buyers that also put in offers, which would put us in a multiple offer situation. And so there we would put your best offer forward from the start, and in hopes that the sellers would pick yours. Some cases, there might have been somebody that put in a higher, better, or different offer, and we may not get that first home you put an offer in on. And that's all right. Sometimes it takes a few times, and I always say that you'll end up with the home that you're supposed to. But let's say you put in an offer on a home and the sellers go ahead and accept it. Or you may put an offer in on it and the sellers may counter your offer. So that's where we would get to step 6 of negotiating those offer terms with the seller. And that is what myself as a buyer's agent would help negotiate that with the seller's listing agent. So those two agents would work hand in hand with our clients to negotiate the terms both parties are looking for to come to an agreed upon place. So once you're in contract on your home, that is, big hurdle number 1. But the next hurdle, now that we're officially in contract, is inspections and remedies. And what you're going to want to make sure is that you have a licensed inspector come through your home. And typically my clients at least do a general home inspection. I recommend that. I do not recommend you purchase a home without doing an inspection unless you're doing it for a renovation. So if you're buying a home that's already in rough condition and you're going to be completely gutting it and renovating it, there are instances and times where my clients have passed on their inspection that way. However, for the sake of the topic of first-time home buyers, I always highly, highly, highly suggest you get that general home inspection, because what that's going to do is they're going to go through the home with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that there are no underlying or unforeseen issues that you don't see from just touring the house. They're going to check things like HVAC, roof, foundation, really big ticket expensive items, as well as small things like, is this light switch working? Does it turn on the light properly? Is the bathroom ventilation fan working? Is it doing proper exhaust? So all of those things get identified in a home inspection, and you'll get a report back, and that inspector will lay out everything that he identified as a concern or just an item to know about the home. And then if you have items that are of concern to you, then you would negotiate for those items to either be fixed and repaired prior to you closing on the home, or you can ask for the sellers to provide you a monetary credit at closing in lieu of repair. So, for example, let's say the roof it's past its end of life, there are some leaks, it needs completely redone. You could ask the sellers to have that new roof put on prior to closing, or you could ask them for a credit for a certain amount at closing, and then you can have that roof fixed once you close and move into the home. Now, negotiating remedies is a negotiation. So it's oftentimes a little bit of back and forth between the buyer and seller to come to a fair and agreed upon amount or items that need fixed. And a lot of times we're able to get there. We don't have too many issues, but that remedy period can take a little bit of time to negotiate, which is even more helpful, why it's great to have a realtor on your side when you're buying to help make sure you have the right contacts and can help negotiate that process for you. So step 8, after you get through inspections and remedies and you and the buyer and seller have worked through those items, the lender is going to order an appraisal on the home, because they want to make sure that the purchase price that you're buying it for is the fair market value of the home. And the biggest reason behind this is they, say you are putting an offer on a home at 200,000 and the appraisal comes back at 180,000. Well, the lender is going to want to make sure that they're not lending you money on a home that the fair market value isn't there. And so you could do one of two things. Sometimes buyers will agree to make up that difference in their own personal funds. Other times they'll meet in the middle. Buyer and seller will agree to a new purchase price. And other times, the seller will lower the purchase price down to what it appraised for, ultimately, if they want to help get it to the closing table. Step 9 is final loan approval. So this is where all of the final loan docs, your final financials go through the underwriting department, and they have given you the clear to close. All is good. They don't need any more information about the home. The appraisal came back all good, and your financials are solid, and they're ready to go ahead and clear the mortgage process for you to close on the home. And then step 10, the best step in the entire process, is closing day. And this is where you sign all the documents, you sign your name dozens and dozens of times, and you officially purchase the home. And fun fact, this couple right here, I helped them purchase their first home here in Columbus, Ohio this spring, and they are also Wittenberg alums. So it's so cool when I get to help fellow grads as well as first-time home buyers through this process, because it's, setting them up, and now they officially have their home, and I always stay in touch so I can see how they decorated it and what have they renovated, and it's such a fun experience. So closing day is that final step in the process. So now that we've chatted about the things, the steps and the things to do during the home buying process, let's chat about a few things not to do when purchasing your home. Number 1, do not make expensive purchases. If you notice, it is me and my husband in both of these photos. And the photo on the left is me standing in front of a brand new car I purchased 1 week before closing on our home. That was a terrible idea. Now, don't hold it against me. This was 3 years ago. I was in my first job after college. This is well before I started my career in real estate. But my car died. I thought, based on my conversations with my loan officer, that our debt to income and financials were fine. It wasn't going to affect it all that much. But I was wrong. I gave my loan officer and my realtor a heart attack as they were scrambling the week before we were closing on the house to make sure all of our financials were all set. So it had to go back to underwriting. We had to get that clear to close, that final loan approval again. And we could have easily ruined this whole deal. So buying a car a week before closing, buying furniture, opening new credit cards, any expensive purchases before you are closing on your home, and even during the home buying process, are not a good idea. So learn from my mistake. Don't do this. Do not buy a car the week before closing, and just make sure you stay away from purchasing anything. Now, once you get to the closing table, you can purchase and buy whatever you want to. A lot of times my clients will close on the home, and the next day they're buying all their brand new furniture for the house. And that's fine, because you've closed, it's all done and good to go at that point. So, moral of the story, don't make the same mistake I did and buy any large purchases during the home purchasing process. Another tip is do not change or quit your job. So again, your employment history and your financials were all taken into account for the pre-approval with the loan officer. So changing your job or quitting your job is going to have an effect on that. Granted, there are times where there's unforeseen circumstances completely out of your control, and I get that, and we worked through it when those things happen. But during the home buying process is not the time to be searching to switch your job. Hang tight, wait till after you close on that new home, and then you can, figure out a different employment opportunity if that's what you wish to do. The third suggestion I would give you is do not miss any bill payments. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I like to have everything set up on auto pay so that there's no chance I miss anything. Because a lot of times it's not missing it because you can't pay it. It's missing it because you got the mail, you put it in the bin, and you didn't look at it for 4 weeks. So try your best, especially during the home buying process, not to miss any bills, no matter how small they are. Awesome. You guys, I know that was a lot of information. I tried to go in depth without going into too many details because I just wanted to give you an intro and a look into purchasing your first home if this is not something that you've done before. Like I mentioned earlier, I am a licensed realtor in the state of Ohio. I primarily do all my business in Columbus and the surrounding areas. I would love to connect with you on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and my email is there if you want to shoot me an email. If you'd like any more information about purchasing your first home, or if you have questions, you can also text me at my cell phone, which is below. So I'll stop sharing this.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank
Is
you
there?
so much, Allie.
Yeah, so I know that was a little bit quicker than the allotted hour, but I could go on about all the details of the home buying process, but it's a lot of terminology and it's a lot of things that if you haven't done it before, I don't want to overcomplicate it. So I kind of want to keep it simple. All that to say is if you're renting, and you're interested in learning more about the process, I'm happy to be a resource, whether you live in Ohio or not. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Absolutely. Thank you. Did anybody have any questions today or want to pop on? And all right. Oh, wait, we got pop on. Hello.
Hi, I just want to say thank you for the presentation. We don't have any questions, but if you'd be able to share that question list that you went through, a few of the other ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Allie, if you want to send that to me, I'll send a follow-up email early next week with a link to this recorded presentation. So you guys can always kind of go back and check it out again too. And then I can also include those questions if you want.
Yeah, so there was a question on the chat that said, what's the difference between contingent and pending? And so I would say it kind of depends what you're referring to. Like Zillow and Realtor.com will sometimes post pending as the status, or they'll post contingent. I know typically what that means is that they're in contract with another buyer already to purchase the home. So if you're looking on Zillow, which a lot of my clients do, and you see either pending or contingent, either of those terms mean that they are in contract or are in the process of closing. So they aren't actually for sale any longer. Cool. I think that's it. So I'll download the PDF and send it over to you. That way you have it. And if anybody has any follow-up questions, they can reach out to me at any time.
I mean, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Allie.
Thank
I wish
you
I
guys for joining.
and 6 months right before I bought my house. So that was great. You really walked through all the steps wonderfully. So
Thank you.
And thanks for tuning in, Maggie and Ingrid.
Have a great day, guys.
Bye, guys.